this year, the interest in climate, the discussion about climate has achieved a whole new level. I started to see the early hints of that, and that's when I decided that doing the book would make sense to kind of frame the problem, make sure everyone knows the breadth of source of emissions and the challenge of going back and changing all the infrastructure connected to those emissions. And so, the book launch has gone, really well. The interest in the topic is strong enough that people are trying to really come up with a plan. We have not had a plan. We've had a goal, which is to get to zero by 2050.
I think this next 10 years is going to be absolutely critical. We're sort of losing the race against time, and there's some important technologies that are ready to be scaled. They're commercially viable.
This is extremely hard. You're talking about most of the physical industrial capital that's out there is going to have to change. Almost every industrial process has emissions. Steel and cement are the biggest single items in there. And those plants are pervasive. And so having a 30-year deadline to both invent a way of doing something and get it out to the scale, that's unprecedented. Bostav Schmiel, who's written many books, including Energy and Civilization, documents that we've never moved at that kind of pace. But if the imperative's there, if the younger generation is pushing the politicians, the employers, if their buying behavior lines up with preferring green products, then you have this massive force that can make it happen. But, it's only through innovation do you make it so that you could say to a country like India, hey, in 2050, do not make normal cement or steel or electricity, just do it the green way, even though they're providing basic shelter, for their citizens, and they're not responsible for the historic emissions. So it's going to be hard, but it's very doable.
I think the biggest determinant of our ability to really save the planet is going to be government action, and I think that's the weak link, right? And it's a weak link because politicians care about keeping their jobs, and so it's a hard thing for them to put forward policies where there's going to be short-term pain or sacrifice in order to get a long-term benefit. And I saw that real time, when during the financial crisis, right? We had to be looking into the abyss in 2008 to get them to act, but they do a much better job when the crisis is immediate than if it's long-term. And it's much easier if it's domestic than if it's global. And so this is particularly a pernicious one because it's long-term and it's global. And unlike the financial crisis, the government can't come in at the end to clean up the mess, right? Because, for all practical purposes, these emissions are permanent, right? And so the longer we delay, the harder the job is. I think the answer is, Bill alluded to it when he said the younger generation, because I don't care if it's a democracy or an authoritarian government. Leaders act when the public sentiment is strong, when the public demands it. And I really think by far the best hope is the younger generation. This is the ultimate issue of generational equity. But it doesn't do it to just say the polls show that they care about climate change, right? So they're going to have to make it very clear that they're prioritizing this ahead of some other needs. And they're very active. They're going to demand decisive action and do it at the ballot box. I also believe that business has an important role to play here. And that I think if there's business leadership and politicians see the market rewarding and driving change, and see that, and see the consumers driving change, I think that makes it easier. And, if I have any, the analogy I would use that gives me some hope is gay marriage, right? It looked to be very difficult, but when it flipped quickly. And I think the thing that I'm very hopeful we can get to the point where looking at the threat is not politics. It's not a matter of opinion, right? We're talking about the laws of physics, the laws of economics. That's not opinion. Opinion or policy should be debating what we do to meet the threat. And I have the Biden presidency gives me some hope because he ran publicly. He was in Pennsylvania. He spoke about climate change, and then all the things that Bill and I have alluded to. And let me tell you, if you want to be a pessimist, there's a lot of issues you could cut your throat over, and we've all got to be optimists.